In this video, we're going to see how we get our Rails web application to talk to a MySQL database. In previous videos, we've set up our MySQL database and we've created the basic framework for our Rails web application. I'm already in that directory in my console here in my terminal session. I've cd'd into Movie Critic. I can do an ls long and you can see the different directories set up here. I'm going to go ahead and start my text editor up, and again I use TextMate. It's a Mac OS X only product, so just be aware of that. Let's go ahead and save this project out. This is a TextMate thing, so I'm set up my project file there. Now the file that we need to tell Rails how to talk to MySQL, the file that we're actually going to change is called database.yml, and it's located in our config directory of our web application. And the specific things that we need to change is an account username for MySQL and the password. So these are MySQL accounts, and you need to make sure that they have specific permissions from this host to that database. If it's local, it's generally pretty straightforward if you have the right permission settings on that table. Sometimes it's a little bit harder if you are using a remote MySQL server to get the right host name in their IP address, so on. The other thing that we need to change is, I want to show you, is that when we created this database, and I did this for a reason, to be able to point this out, we called it Movie Critic. But if you notice, Rails has set it up as Movie Critic _development. Now normally I would go ahead and use it this way because you also have Movie Critic test and production. And the test is the database that gets used when we create our test, which we'll do in later videos. And production is the database that's used when we actually move our web application into production. And then again in later videos we'll show you what goes on there. In our case, we simply had the one database and I named it just Movie Critic. So I'm going to go ahead and change this name. This won't affect these other databases. We just need to make sure that when we create these that their names are appropriate. I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now, at this point, our Rails web application should be ready to talk to our database. So I'm going to go ahead and generate a scaffold. And if you remember, we covered this in earlier videos on the generate scaffold script. So we need to give it a model name. In this case, it's movie. Our table name was movies, plural, so our model name will be movie, singular, and then since this is a Ruby class, the first letter will be capitalized. We go ahead and enter that, and this should generate our files, and then we can go and pull up our browser, and we'll go in, put movies in here, and hopefully, I guess it helps if we go ahead and start our server. Let's go back over here. Now we have our little scaffolding where we can do some basic stuff. At this point, all we can do is add a new movie. So let's add a movie name, The Cliff. We'll create it. Now at this point, we can show this. All we're going to see is the name. We can edit it, so we can change that name, or we can actually destroy it and it'll delete it and there won't be anything there. So let's recreate it. And just so you see that this is actually something going on, I'm going to go into the table for this, and there you have our entry in here.